Good job.
Oh, what have I done? It's too late. I already pressed record.
Well, you done.
Now, what do we do now?
Yep. We just forge ahead.
What do we do now, though?
Wait, I'll join.
Okay.
Oh!
No. Okay, so now it's a bit.
Oh.
Dang it.
Oh, hold on.
There you go. See, we got a little backwards on there. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
God.
Thank you for saving the bit.
Yeah.
Now it's also now the entire rest of the episode is saved.
Nice.
Hey, everybody, I'm Dane Holland.
I'm Austin Shazam Pfeiffer, and I saw close-up magic today.
And I'm Austin Tiny Zent.
It is. You made up for not waiting last time.
Exactly.
And so,
So I do it twice as long.
Yeah, that was great. Hey, we're Nerds of the Grapevine, the podcast where four best friends gather weekly to talk about our favorite parts, past, present, future nerd culture. And Otto may not be here right now, but he's on his way. He's just a little behind, so he'll pop in here. He doesn't know that we already started, so it'll get to be a nice little surprise for him when he walks in. Like, oh no.
Can we yell surprise?
Yes.
If
Yes, we can.
I would just love it if he would pop in and just automatically the first thing he said is, and I'm Otto Cogdal.
Yeah. Just right in the middle of us talking, like it needs to interrupt everything.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, Austin, you've been on a fascination. I would say lately, but I think it's a constant fascination. It's just lately you have found a lot of things to indulge in involving such a thing.
You're correct. I've always had a fascination with things that are just a little bit obscure when it comes to like cults. Things that are of the sinister nature of cults. Because if you get into the technicalities of things, a lot of stuff can be considered a cult, but not have a negative connotation to what they're actually doing. It just fits the mold of cult.
I think a cult is inherently a negative thing. I mean, I've never heard of a good cult.
Yeah.
We looked at, let's see,
Because we had Webstered it, and it doesn't. One of the offshoots is something of a sinister nature, but another one just is based off of a group or a gathering that's going to be focused towards a single individual or entity.
Yeah, well, I mean, Merriam-Webster says a religion regarded as unorthodox or spurious. So something that's
so that doesn't. I mean, just
that deviates from what is commonly accepted.
Right.
And that's a lot of the stuff that happens within the cults that I've been watching every documentary on.
Yeah.
They're all offshoots of an offshoot of a religion.
Uh-huh.
And they take bases off of the religion in order to convince people that it is for God or for whatever they're going for and their purpose of the religion. And it ends up being dark and sinister and gripping, honestly, as a story goes, because my wife and myself will just eat it up just watching this stuff, and we're finding ourselves upset, and I'm finding myself having trouble sleeping just because of how upset that I get over stuff, just because in some of these things, like the idea of the cult topic was not even just because I was, indulging in all of these. It was actually brought up because we were going to talk about some, like the Foot Clan because they all basically worship the Shredder.
Right. And that's my favorite. My favorite cults, because I know there's so many out there that we don't even know about.
Oh, absolutely.
And those are probably the best ones because they actually are able to be a real secretive about
and those are the good ones because they're not known about and they're extra sinister.
Well, the crazy thing is some of them become commonly accepted, as something that's kind of normal, like Scientology, for instance. If you actually look into the documentation of it, it is very, very culty.
Right. Yeah, and that's the weird line, because Austin and I were talking about this even the other day when we were talking about this episode. It's like there's this weird line of like the definition of some definitions of cult being like a niche like sect of people, like a smaller amount of something taboo. But at what point does something small and taboo become involved with so many people that it's no longer a small group? Like it's now a wider known thing. So is that where a cult, where it evolves into a religion in itself?
Well, I think we have to look at the definition of spurious because, that was part of the definition of cult.
It said or spurious, right?
It said a spurious sect of a religion. Yeah. So spurious, let me get one that actually pertains. Falsified or erroneously attributed origin.
So that means that they are just making shit up.
Yeah, pretty much.
Using the foundation of something more widely accepted, and skewing it to the point to where they can just make their own thing.
Yeah, and kind of like Waco.
Yeah,
I can't remember the fellow's name that was over that whole group of people, but he used Christianity and the Bible to base his cult on.
Yeah,
and the difference was he proclaimed himself as God and the Son of God.
Jim Jones.
No, not Jim Jones. That was Jonestown.
That was Jonestown. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, that was a big one.
There's so many.
That was the
there's so many.
And there's so many.
They get deep.
There are so many. I mean, in Jonestown is something. Yeah, and I forget. Jonestown. Jim Jones. I'm a big dumb.
Yeah. What a dummy.
What a dummy. But
if they would have called it Jimstown, then you would have had it.
Yeah. That was the largest mass suicide in American history.
Yeah. Was that the Kool-Aid one?
No.
Oh.
No, that was worse than the Kool-Aid one. The Kool-Aid one was the cult. It was the cult of cults is what they call that one. And it's slipping my mind for right now. I don't remember what it was called.
Waco was David Koresh.
Yeah, Koresh. Because Bo and Peep were the leaders of.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's what they call. They went by Bo and Peep.
Do people in cults? Do any of them ever go? Yeah, I mean, it's a cult. Like, does anybody ever own up to that?
I think everybody? I think they do after the survivors, some of the people that managed to survive Waco. Looking back on the events that transpired, they go, yeah, that was culty AF.
But people that are in them, if they're hey, you're in a cult, nobody says it's a cult.
No, because a lot of
you believe it
because you are indoctrinated into the idealism of the cult. You're indoctrinated into this. This is the way that it really is, and this person who has rolled a 20 on every charisma check that they've ever had.
Yeah, I mean, essentially.
But what's
Heaven's Gate. That was the one with Bo and Peep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, gotcha. That's the one that everybody was wearing the same Nikes and the same clothing, and they were all found after drinking the Kool-Aid.
Which they took Nike took a year to discontinue that model of shoe. By the way, just throwing that out there.
Oh, really?
Because of the events of Heaven's Gate, we're discontinuing this. Yeah, that's the crazy part. Sales on that shoe spiked right after.
Well, of course, they're not going to discontinue.
Yeah, and they're after a year, they go, for respect for the family and the victims, we're going to stop selling this. It's after a year,
they're dabbing their tears off their eyes with the money, and we're sad.
After the just out of respect for humanity, and we're not going to have these sweatshops to make these shoes for this model.
yeah,
exactly. But there's so much insane stuff that happens within these cults, and I get really into the Mormon cults. The Mormon cults are the ones that just have the most obscene amount of what the hell.
I don't know, man. The Anthill Gang or Anthill Kids, I can't remember exactly, that was based in Canada. That's probably one of the craziest ones. They had nothing to do with Mormonism.
Well, I'll speak a little bit about the FLDS for a second, and then you're going to have to...
FLDS is pretty wackadoo.
The FLDS, which is the fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. That's what the...
FLDS is a lot easier to say. That no wonder why they go with that.
Yes, FLDS. So those are the ones who take Mormon teachings but do not adhere to what the Mormons believe now. They believe what the Mormons believed at the turn of the century before Mormons outlawed plural marriage. So to continue to practice the plural marriage, the having of multiple wives, they are now in their own little communes, sprinkled all over the western and southwestern, western United States, down into Mexico, to where the things get even more violent down in Mexico. But the main FLDS is actually ran by a man who is in prison for child diddling, because they found, number one of the beliefs in this cult is that if you don't have more than 3 wives, you will not be able to get into the highest level of heaven, which is the celestial level of heaven. And to get in the celestial level of heaven, you have to have at least 3 wives. And the more wives you have, the higher up in the celestial rank you'll be.
It's like the premium version of your favorite app, right?
It's
like they've got their religion app, and they're like, but for the premium version without ads, you got to get 3 wives.
Exactly,
you prove
HBO
it.
Max.
I had, and this is some crazy shit that happened whenever I was a kid, and my mom doesn't remember any of this because I have a stupid brain and I remember things that don't matter, but they do for subject material here. I have a cousin who is my mom's first cousin, so she's my second cousin, and she's my mom's age. Okay. So my mom's like 70, and no, my mom's not like 70, she is 70. So, but Vanessa was some weird stuff started happening. She started kind of isolating herself and not being involved much with the family much anymore, and she stopped wearing makeup and cutting her hair, and she started dressing in almost like prairie clothes. Mm-hmm. And I can remember going to her house one time with my mom and there being a picture of somebody. And I asked who this guy was because she had a picture of him up, and she started talking about the prophet. Mm-hmm. And I remember that face. I remembered him very well because I saw him on a documentary. His name was Rulin Jeffs. Rulin Jeffs. He was the from the late 50s to the late 90s, the leader of the FLDS.
Oh.
And Rulin Jeffs had, I believe, 80 wives by the time he passed away.
Rookie numbers.
I think that about 15 or 16 of them were under the age of 15.
That tracks.
So the problem that you run into is and he was quiet about it. That's why nothing really popped up with the FLDS for so long during that stretch, because he was so quiet about the way that he was doing stuff that they were just getting by with everything, like skating under the radar. No raids, mm-hmm. no publicity in the media, nothing like that happening, and they're just getting to get by with whatever they wanted to do, basically. They've got people indoctrinated into this idea that once you are baptized in their religion at the age of 8, you are an adult.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's not even close.
No.
That's not even close.
Not even close.
Nope.
That's when they start planning the marriages for the young women. The girls.
Yeah.
They're not even young women. They're girls.
It starts the indoctrination young, too.
And
of all that.
That was one of the things that he did. But then when he died, there was no rightful prophet chosen for said religion. And I say rightful prophet like that's a real thing. But it's
according to them. You could just like according to them.
According to them, there was not a rightful prophet. But all it takes is someone like Warren Jeffs, who is Rulin Jeffs' son. And Warren Jeffs was the one who stepped up after his father died and said that God spoke to me and told me that I am the prophet, that I am the revelator, and I am the one mighty and strong to save the world. And the one mighty and strong is something that pops up a lot in these FLDS.
That saying?
Yes, and a lot of that. And there's offshoots of FLDS as well that are even more crazy than just FLDS. So it's just... It's crazy what they get into just because it's not normal life. They don't have, they don't have a normal town they live in. They live in a place that was actually gifted to them in order to start, to keep the land and to have this paradise, this Zion on earth. And they all live there. They work there. The church owns everything. The church owns your house. The church owns your car. The church owns your wife. Warren Jeffs was actually reassigning women from husbands to more deserving men.
That happens in a bunch of different cults.
Like himself.
Surprise! Surprise! I figured Willie was yelling, "Hey guys, Otto's home." What's up, dude? Hi, wife.
Hi,
wife.
Heidi.
She's gonna steal some energy and charge her phone.
How dare she?
Whoa.
Well, she's welcome to go on in the house if you want to sit on out here.
Yeah. Willie will probably yell at her, like he's doing currently.
Nice. So I found a list that it's like a checklist for characteristics of a cult.
Oh, okay.
So it can help narrow down different groups.
What is it from?
It's on Reddit. It's originally from ICSA, the International Cultic Studies Association,
Gotcha.
written by Michael D. Langon. Langon, L-A-N-G-O-N-A.
Long one.
Yeah. You got to turn it on.
There
Hey,
it is. Hey.
speaking of turning things
Who
on.
are you?
Hey.
I am Otto. Totally wasn't really late to the podcast because one of my cars is broken. Cogdell.
We're finding out what a checklist for cults is.
Ooh, I like
Hi, Otto.
cults.
We're glad you're here.
One of us. One of us.
Okay, so the first characteristic, the group displays excessively zealous and unquestioning commitment to its leader and regards the belief system, ideology, and practices as truth and or law.
Shredder.
Yeah.
Yep.
For the
Questioning, doubt, and dissent are discouraged or even punished. Mind-altering practices such as meditation, chanting, so on and so forth, are used in excess and serve to suppress doubts about the group and its leader or leaders. The leadership dictates sometimes in great detail how members should think, act, feel, how to proceed. The group is elitist, claiming a special or exalted status for itself. The leader is often considered an avatar for God or the Messiah or God himself. The group has a polarized us versus them mentality, which may cause conflict with the wider society. The leader is not accountable to any authorities, mainstream religious denominations, or anything else. The group teaches or implies that it is supposedly exalted and the ends justify whatever means it deems necessary. The leadership induces feelings of shame and or guilt in order to influence or control its members. Often this is done through peer pressure and subtle forms of persuasion. Subservience to the leader or group requires members to cut ties with family and friends and to radically alter the personal goals and activities they had before they joined the group. The group is preoccupied with bringing in new members. The group is preoccupied with making money. Members are expected to devote inordinate amounts of time to the group and group-related activities. Members are encouraged or required to live and or socialize with only the other group members. The most loyal members, the true believers, feel that there can be no life outside the context of the group. They believe there is no way to be and often fear reprisals to themselves or others if they leave or even consider leaving the group.
And does it say that it needs to check off a certain amount of these boxes in order to be considered one, or it's just like, hey, these are signs?
These are signs.
Okay.
Like most cults encompass most of these,
Most
but
of them. Okay.
it don't have to be a certain amount or whatever. They're just characteristics seen.
Gotcha.
Like on average throughout all the cults that we know of.
From a law enforcement standpoint, we used to have to be trained on dealing with these people because they do not accept the authority of anybody in a position of authority because they do not believe in the government. They do not believe that they are the actual ones who are calling the shots. If you were a sheriff's deputy and you were to actually get, have somebody that is a part of one of these cults, they would not be referring to themselves as cults, but they would adhere to a certain title known as a sovereign citizen.
Oh, yeah.
This sounds like anarchy with like religious flavoring.
Yeah.
Right?
I wouldn't call it
Or is
anarchy.
it not? Like anarchy
It's
against...
almost the opposite of anarchy because they want to live in like such a rigid structure. That's why the cult is like...
Well, it's insular society. It's not anarchy. They have their own hierarchy. They don't adhere to the commonly used laws. So it's not
Because
I was thinking anarchy as in like I think my idea of the word anarchy is a little off because I was thinking like anarchy against like our societal norms, like anarchy, but anarchy is more of a like against any kind of structure.
Anarchy is really only truly a concept because anarchy is against any kind of structure
All
or leadership
structure.
or anything
Okay.
else.
and there could never
that-
actually be anarchy
Exactly.
because the one who
That
is the most
itself.
because the one who is the most powerful of all those that are in the anarchy is therefore ruined the anarchy.
Right.
They've
Anarchy
ruined it.
itself is almost like being in a group, and like being a part of a bigger thing is its own thing.
It's like
right?
isolation.
Yeah. Okay.
It's isolationist thinking.
Gotcha.
And it's they do get into some insane stuff. Back to the FLDS stuff. With Warren Jeffs, he has been arrested. He is in prison. He was found guilty of several cases of child rape because these 11-year-old girls ended up pregnant.
Right.
And they couldn't prove the rest of them, but the ones that gave birth to his biological children.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to deny. When you have,
it's pretty easy to just go ahead and be like, yeah, you did that.
When you have a fermented nut there with half your DNA, it's kind of hard to disprove that.
So what goes on now is he's in prison and he's still calling the shots for this cult. And he literally will have revelations after revelations, and he'll give them to his people, and they come to prison and get them from him, and they'll give him the prison has actually stopped giving him any pictures or photographs that his family has sent him anymore. Because they don't give him photographs anymore, because the family would give him loving photographs and making sure that people knew that they still loved him, and he would walk around the prison masturbating to them. Just out in the open.
There's other reasons why he shouldn't, because when you do things like that, you're not even a person anymore.
Right.
I'm not going to get into that too deep.
Yeah,
but a lot of cults, they generally revolve around making a sex. I mean, a lot of them, they're like, you can't have sex with your partner, but only me, because I'm the leader. I'm the chosen one. I will make you pure. And the way to purify you is being inside of you. Right. And then that just, they get a taste of, one thing, then they want more and more. And then it starts to trickle down to, it's all gross. But then it starts to trickle down to abominable things.
That's where the Foot Clan and Shredder might get a little weird, because why are they called the Foot Clan? I'm thinking Shredder likes to tear it up.
Well, they're also not human feet either, because they have the symbol isn't a human foot.
Well, look, here's the thing.
Oh, that's true. What foot is that?
Look, I don't want to yuck any yums, but feet do cause me discord.
Yeah, baby.
There's a link down there. Click it. You'll join the Backyard Bonanza. It's our own little cult, but we're a good cult.
Yeah, we're the good kind.
We'll tell you straight up.
Yeah.
We're not deities. We just hang out and we make funnies.
And we don't do the sex cult.
We do not do the sex
We do not
things.
do the sex cult.
Well, not with each other. We do them on our own with our respective partners, and it's all
only
consensual.
consensual.
It's all consensual adults. That's the important part. But anyway,
Would they give you the Hill Gang?
We're on there live, uncut, uncensored, and irrevocably circumcised.
They're different feet. For the foot.
I was like, yes, Dane, everyone has different feet.
But the one we know most is kind of like the bottom half is like a diamond, and then the top half looks like half of the Jedi symbol.
That looks like a smoothed out MTG logo.
That's literally just Shredder's. They've got it's Shredder's forehead.
It is Shredder's
forehead. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's just Shredder's forehead.
Well, since we're on the topic of the Foot Clan,
go on.
How do we get us a wiki feet?
I don't know. You're the only one that's mentioned this. I don't know.
Can you make them yourself?
That's cheating.
Oh, because someone else has to do it.
We've released pictures on the Discord of our feet.
Oh, wow.
I even was fishing for it the other night because I said, "Hey, how do we get a wiki feet?" And nobody said anything.
I saw that and I was a little concerned, and I was thinking, I'm like, do we need to have an intervention with Tiny? Like, what is his state right now where he's wanting us to have a group wiki feed?
I bet.
No. I just want to know which one of us has the better looking feet.
I bet Danny DeVito has a wiki feet out
Dude,
there.
most celebrities have a wiki feet.
Especially since he posts the picture of Trollfoot wherever he
I
goes.
guarantee you he's got a wiki feet. I'll look it up now.
They are disproportionately female celebrities on wiki feed.
True.
Not always. All the Try Guys are on there, for instance.
Yeah, I'm not saying always, but it's almost an upsetting amount how
much. It's
like
an 80-20, probably.
I think I'd say
90-10.
more of like a 90-10.
Yeah, I would see that.
Okay.
But I feel like that's when we've made it. Like whenever we end up with a wiki feed, we really feel like we made it.
Well, I know WikiFeet gives you a ranking because there was a men and women's WikiFeet. Danny DeVito has a 4-star rating.
As he should.
Yeah, his shoe size is 8.5. It tells you his birth date, and then it's all a bunch of pictures of his feet.
When you're 4'11", 8.5,
that's a lot.
That's a big foot.
I do not want to see his feet.
Oh man, they are so crusty. I'm going to talk real quick about one more of these FLDS things, and this was one that I watched the documentary on here recently, and I actually took notes on it because this actually blew my wig back a little bit. There
It's
is
a wig?
Yeah, it is a wig. I don't have hair anymore. So what happens? What happens is
Tarantino's got a 2.5-star wiki feed, and he's into feet.
Yeah, I wonder if they have like a user ranking, like who uses it the most. I wonder what his ranking on that is.
most people are aware of who Charles Manson is.
Oh yeah.
Most people are aware with the Hollywood murders and the murders that were instructed to be carried on by the Manson family. It's been so mainstream and such a story that's told so many times you don't need to rehash it. If you've never heard anything about Charles Manson, then just get on the internet for a second. It's going to be an easy find.
It's like the Jeffrey Dahmer of cults.
This one is called the Mormon Manson. His name was Ervil LeBaron. And
These people with these names.
I know. His name was Ervil LeBaron, and he started a church in the 1950s with his brother called the Church of the Firstborn of the Fullness of Time.
Why do they always
You
have
heard
long
me.
names?
The Church of the Firstborn of the Fullness of Time.
Fullness
That
of time.
sounds like something that you would just type autocorrect and keep hitting the button until you got satisfied.
Yeah, it's like one of those click on the middles and what's your sentence say kind of deals.
yeah, you know those engagement bait posts.
or an
yeah.
anime title.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah.
I couldn't even read the full title on this one, and I couldn't find a way to today. But this guy, this is one of the most prominent sects, SECT, of the FLDS offshoots. So you think the FLDS is crazy. They don't practice this one. This is called blood atonement. This was outlawed in the late 1800s by the Mormon Church, but they still practiced it.
Man, when the Mormons outlaw something like that's you're there.
This sounds like something you don't really practice. You just kind of do it.
Blood atonement is a way of punishing the enemies of the church and making sure that their blood is spilled onto the ground and that their face is skyward towards God for the atonement of their sins.
So Legos on the front of the threshold of the door of the church. If you know about them, you're not gonna step on them. D4s would be really bad too. But you can do that with Lego.
No, they got to die.
Like that's what Tiny said. That's why Tiny said that D4s would work.
Oh, because you would
it's a
die.
No, it's
my
a-
God.
Duh. God,
I'm surprised y'all didn't hear it hit the wall because it went right over
Yeah,
my
I was
head.
wondering. I'm like, man, is he playing for a bid or something?
No,
or like,
it went.
did he just...
It went right over my head. I'm
That's
surprised it
good.
didn't thump onto the wall. This guy basically, and with most cults you see in fictitious settings, they have henchmen,
Right.
like the Foot Clan. They're a bunch of henchmen,
Low-level goons.
or like the League of Shadows. Everybody ends up being a henchman for Ra's al Ghul.
Koopas for Bowser.
Exactly, all of this stuff.
flying monkeys.
For the witch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Ervil actually had 14 wives and 55 children. And that's low for FLDS numbers, but for his little section of it that he had his own little plot of land in Mexico to where he could go off and practice his plural marriage with nobody asking any questions because nobody's speaking English. So,
Well, and I feel like also with that many people, you kind of have to have your own acreage. You
Yeah.
know? You're not fitting
yeah.
that into an apartment.
so what he did was he raised his children in order to believe in the blood atonement and raised them all in basically the art of war.
He's a holy army.
Yes, he raised his own.
creating his own.
He raised his own holy army, and he ended up getting arrested and going to prison. But while he was in prison, just like Warren Jeffs with all of his revelations, he still has in prison. Ervil had revelations from prison, and he wrote his own book, which is called the Book of the New Covenant. The Book of the New Covenant had a hit list on it.
Ooh, with like real people's
With
names.
real
for
people's
them to
names
kill?
that real people's names that were enemies of the church. And there's something that was referred to as the 4 o'clock murders. If you ever want to look this up, that's how you can find it the easiest. Basically, after he died in prison from a heart attack.
Okay.
And they just didn't expect the prophet, God on earth, to die in prison from a heart attack. So they were like, this had to be due to our enemies, because of the bad.
That's always how it works.
because of the bad spiritual warfare. They got to our prophet. So
I can't be the crazy one. They're the crazy one.
so his son Harem, not like everybody's together in the same
It's probably Hiram.
No, it wasn't Hiram. It was H-E, not H-I or H-Y. It's Harem. It's a weird. These people with their damn names.
These are strange.
They're all
of them.
strange names.
It's a way to start being culty.
So, are you saying that if you don't want your future children to be in or to found a cult, don't give them weird ass names? Is that a life hack?
I think a majority of the time that the people that are given the weird ass names like this are already born into it in the first place.
Well, they're probably weird ass names to us, but I'm sure in some of their old literature, I'm sure the names might have been common.
I mean, I met a Pussy Willow one time.
Really? Like their name?
Like his name was Pussy Willow. That was
like
his
one
first
word.
name.
Like that was his first word.
Like
name.
the plant.
Interesting.
Huh.
Very interesting.
Pussy Willow Rainbow.
Man,
Whoa.
Yeah, that was his name.
I bet I know what his parents.
Did he have shoes?
Sometimes.
He gave up on himself then. If you're named that, you cannot, you can't wear shoes.
His dad drove a lawnmower to the gas station with his mom, riding on the back.
He got his points back.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, he got his points
it was
back.
a deer.
He's
That
allowed
tracks.
shoes and that, lawn tractor.
So Ervil killed his brother because his brother was actually labeled.
Ate all the popcorn.
His brother was labeled as the one mighty and strong, which within the Mormon religion, the one mighty and strong is something that's referenced in the Book of Mormon as almost like the second coming of Jesus, kind of thing.
I see.
They are the second coming of the Savior of spirituality on earth.
Okay.
That's what they are for. And so therefore everybody that's doing all these little offshoot religions and all these offshoot cult things like that they have somebody most of the time labeled the one mighty and strong. And you can you beep bop around and it's like, there's one. Oh, there's one. Oh, there's another one mighty and strong. And it's but he was jealous of his brother because his brother had the command of the flock. But Ervil had more charisma and more outreach because he was greedier.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually killed his brother in order to have no more competition within the religion that he was basing.
Did he put his brother on that list in the book whenever he made the hit list?
His brother was the reason he went to prison. Oh. His brother was the reason.
I was confused in the timeline.
But the problem with it is they got out of so many crimes. They had burned an entire town to the ground and killed almost 20 people within this small town, and they were let off of the charges for all of the murder and destruction and everything based on technicalities. So do these people involved in the cult thinking that this man is the one mighty and strong, is the one, because Ervil tried to convince everybody that Joel was not the one mighty and strong. It was a false claim. He's the one mighty and strong. So if they see the one who's claiming to be the savior of everything on earth and all of these mortal charges coming against him, and then he bats them down,
it's going to give him a good look.
That gives him a real good look to them, so they start following him even more.
Right.
So all in all, blood atonement wise, there were close to 40 different people that were killed for the blood atonement of this specified cult, and it's just insane to see, because the mass suicides and everything else, that's what they just convince their followers to do. That's internal.
That's internal.
So just having people convinced that if you kill somebody, you're doing it for righteous reasons.
Yeah.
That it's just, and they just lapped it up, just ate it up.
Yeah, it was like a crusade thing.
Yeah, what I've noticed in my own delving into cults, they come in basically two flavors. You've got the I am God, and then you've got like God's coming back doomsday type.
I love the doomsday ones because it's always so desperate every time the deadline hits and it's not there.
Yeah. Well,
every time the deadline hits, it gets more extreme, and they have the best excuses as to why. Oh, no, we weren't spiritually pure enough, so the spaceship didn't stop.
I mean, that's some of it. One in particular, the Anthill Kids.
I was wondering
based
about
in Canada. The guy's name was Roke, last name impronounceable. Also, it doesn't matter because he's a monster. So the cult was basically founded on thoughts of unity and freedom and kind of nothing's a sin, do whatever you want, right? And they strove for self-sufficiency. And originally, he said the world was going to end in February of 1979. Oops. So in 1978, he got roughly 30 adults and 20 some odd children, the children of the adults, and they went on a little hike into the woods. And he goes, here's where we're going to build our town. So they build a town in just a random plot of land.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of sat back and he's watching, and the name Anthill Kids came from the fact that he sat there. He said they looked like a bunch of little ants. So that's what he called them. They made their living selling baked goods and jellies and that sort of thing. So it sounds good so far, right?
Yeah, sounds pretty wholesome.
Sounds pretty harmless.
Sounds. But then it gets worse. So when he was younger, he went to school, was wanting to be a doctor, and he failed miserably. And he had like ulcers, and he was also a heavy drinker, which obviously would not help the ulcers. So he was constantly feeling not good. So that could probably also contribute to his hatred of people in general. So initially, people would try to leave, at some point, and he's like, no, you can't leave. And so he would beat them with like a belt or a hammer.
That's a jump.
It is a jump. It is quite a jump.
That went from like abuse to like assault. Or attempted murder.
It's all assault.
You put a hammer on a belt, and you're going to have a real good.
Exactly.
That sounds like a janky mace.
Well, let's actually. Well, I'll dissect that a little bit, because whenever we think belt, we're thinking a couple of whoopings. Like just a whack, you've done bad, this is why. Yeah. They don't just, I guarantee they're not just.
There's a difference between spanking belt and beating
These
belt.
are like 25, 30 lashes with a belt kind of beatings, aren't they?
That buckle's coming. He would beat you until basically you submitted. Yeah. Because it's that mindset of the beatings will continue until morale improves.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the mindset. So it was kind of whatever was closest to hand, be it his belt, a hammer, whatever. And that's just like the gentle beginnings. It eventually got to the point where he would nail his followers to a tree while they all threw stones at him. He would hang them up from the ceiling. They would shit on him. They'd piss on him. They would cut him. He would have some followers cut off toes of other followers to prove all their loyalty. So here's your wire cutters. Dane cut off Austin's toes.
It's a lot harder for somebody to follow you when they don't have toes to like keep their balance.
As long as they have their big toe.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, the big one.
You can lose every toe on your foot except your big toe and not have balance issues.
Yeah, so if I can make you, beat you enough, and I'm your, sustenance, because he functioned as their bank. Go figure.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So you see that a lot, too.
Yeah, so if I'm the one supplying you with all your needs, it's going to brainwash you into this thought that I can't survive without being here.
Right.
And make sure you can't escape.
Exactly. He would have his followers as punishment, like sit on lit stoves, break their legs with a sledgehammer, cut off body parts. He would sit back and watch his followers have sex with each other, not normal sex, violent sex. It kept getting worse and worse, and eventually, the police catch wind. When he was caught, he was caught because one of his followers wanted to leave. He said no. She ran away, managed to stay away for a couple of days. They drug her back, and he cut off her hand, cauterized her arm, and she managed to escape again to the local town. This time she managed to stay away. She ran away because he took her newborn child and left it out in the snow to die.
Oh.
Yes.
That's not good.
Pulled a Game of Thrones.
Yeah, pretty much. So, she got a hold of authorities. They got there, and when they seen him, he was wearing bones that he had removed from the body of one of his dead followers as like a war vest.
Whoa.
Yeah, it gets crazy. There's a lot more details that I'm leaving out. If you want to look it up, feel free.
Yeah, we try not to get too...
yeah, I'm just giving you like the low points, I guess. I wouldn't call them high points.
Not at all.
The good thing is...
The Anthill Gang is what they call it?
Anthill Kids.
Anthill Kids. I'll try to log that into brain. If not, it'll be on the podcast.
Yeah. Listen to the podcast Cults.
There's a podcast just called Cults?
Just called Cults.
Man,
I've
they
got
got that
one
one
called
early.
Serial Killers, Dictators, Assassinations.
Everything?
Yes, pretty much. I think it's Parcast is the network. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Check it out if you want to. If you don't,
that's
French
fine
off.
too. Yeah.
Go French yourself if you don't. Whatever. I had a point, but I kind of lost it.
If you want to hear,
I
here
remember.
it is.
Sorry, go ahead.
He died from getting shivved in the neck by somebody in prison because he kind of tried to start a little something in there, and the guy was like, "No, and good on you, buddy."
I'm not in your cult, bro.
Yeah, I mean, if I knew
can
who it
fix
was,
this
I'd put a
real-
little money on his book.
Wait, you're God? Hold on, let me check.
pretty much.
Oops.
Sorry, you didn't pass your check. If you want to ever listen to just one of the creepiest voices of all time, I just forgot to mention that you need to listen to some of the stuff that Warren Jeffs would do to his followers, because one of the things that they were notorious for are rehabilitation centers and different living establishments for people that were having to be reprogrammed, that had independent thoughts within the organization. Somebody that was a free thinker, they would send the free thinkers to work camps. Concentration camps,
Right,
is what they ended up actually being. The emaciated bodies that
So they couldn't focus on stuff.
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
they had the ADHD.
Don't send me there, please.
But they had they would be malnourished, basically just emaciated, worked to almost death. And when they got to the point of death, and then they would be fed. It was just kind of insane. But the entire time while they are in these places, there are speakers all over the compound constantly playing his voice over them, teaching his principles and going through his sermons.
Ugh.
You would hear his sermons constantly. If you want to hear what a sinister, evil voice sounds like, look up Warren Jeffs and listen to some of the stuff that he would talk about. And just because he has the sweetest, calmest, most monotone voice, and the way that he would talk to his followers
While they're being killed.
and if you are not to be sweet, you are not in the graces of God, the graces of your prophet. Keep sweet, obey, pray, be sweet.
See, I'm already uncomfortable,
Gross.
and it's just you.
And it's just me. Literally, that's their motto for the women. And there's one on Hulu you can look up called "Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey." But that's literally what the women have to do, or else. And if they express any other emotion besides they are sweet and they are happy, they are punished.
So we tend to think that, in this modern era, 2024, January, that cults are not as active as they were, but I have found a list of cults that still exist today. Just thought y'all want to know. One is called NXIVM.
I've heard of this.
Nexium.
I've heard of this.
There's Remnant Fellowship Church.
I don't know that.
The IFB.
Yep. The Family International.
They should be on there somewhere. The
Unification Church.
Yep.
Independent Fundamentalist Baptists.
Yes. The Branch Davidians still exist. They didn't die out at Waco. FLDS.
Gotcha.
House of Yahweh. The Church of Bible Understanding.
Isn't that
New Wabian Nation? I don't know what any of these are, pretty much.
Yeah.
Some of them maybe.
Couple of
I'm
them
just
are stand
naming
out.
some off just so y'all
Right.
know. Shinrikyo.
Ooh, that one
Same
sounds
to
fun.
ya,
Yeah.
buddy.
And Realism.
That sounds like what you wait. Isn't that when you like kick somebody in the nuts?
No, there's
And-
2 dots over the E.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Realism.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
So
crazy.
they're out there.
Yeah.
Austin and I don't know if I want to name. I don't think I want to name it, but we accidentally got kind of involved in. I don't know. It fits. I mean, the checkbox, what Tiny was mentioning, and the things to the check boxes.
If you want to read into
It
it the way
fits
we
quite a
read,
few.
if you want to read into it the way that we read into it, it fit a cult description. If you go to Urban Dictionary and look up the name of the organization, it actually pops up.
It
You
says
know,
it
it's-
on there.
Yeah, it
Like,
says it on there.
That's why I don't know
Well,
if
'cause,
I.
like, that's how a lot of cults get you, is it's multi-layer. Like, they don't
Right.
immediately start you out with the, hey, we're going to drink poison Kool-Aid till we all
No.
die. It starts out with,
Fidget
hey, man,
spinners.
do you want to help out? Like, you don't have anywhere to go. Like, you're a young college kid.
Right.
Let's come hang out at the community center, man. Like, come have a beer. I got some friends we can hang out with.
And that's very similar to the way that
Right.
the approach has
It
happened
would-
with it.
When like they'll kind of like feel you out and be like, okay, how like malleable are you? Like, are you pretty set in your beliefs? How's your support system? And like they'll layer you in until you're at a point where like you're at the higher ups of like, this is my entire life. I can't leave.
Yeah. And with this one, like it didn't have like physically harming people or like we're going to take over the world.
Mental
They don't
harm
have
is
to.
just as bad as
Right.
physical.
And
Would this be the one that you spoiled Harry Potter at? Just so
yes,
I know. Okay.
yes, this is where he did that because the thing is with this, like there are some good points in it. Like it's a good thing for a lot of people.
With every lie, there's a kernel of truth.
Right.
Well,
And
a lot of cults are. They have community outreach stuff. So you
Right.
think, oh, they're
Yeah.
great. And then it's
Absolutely.
like, oh, they skin people when they do things bad at
I
night.
even saw a Scientology commercial was on TV and it was showing
What?
like lifelike people in like these vests and like that had the Scientology thing on their vest, like them going, if you've heard about us but not from us, then you don't know anything about us. Yeah, it was like a pro
Where?
it was crazy.
I
It was
wanna
on like
see
a
that.
main network. Like it was showing at my work on the TV.
I want to go to Nashville because the Church of Scientology building in Nashville, they do free tours of.
Oh man,
I
you
think
get
we
a kick
should
out of
all
that.
go.
That'd be wild.
I don't have an objection to that
Yeah.
actually because I'm always curious on
See,
this.
as long as we get to leave at some point,
yeah,
it's fine.
As long as they don't,
I'll bring my gun.
As
There
long
you
as
go.
they don't sense the inevitable godliness that's inside of me that I've always known about, that inner deity that I've always been convinced of, because
Just don't
that's how
say
they
the word.
that's how
Just
they
don't
get
say the
some
word.
people is they'll tell you like, oh, there's something special about you,
Or
You-
like, nice beard, man.
That was tried
They'll
on
do-
you.
They'll do that to you at a Comic-Con convention.
Some aspects of what Austin and I were a part of were like
Service-based.
There was
It was-
written contracts for you to sign in order to become a part of the leadership of how this group works, and it's a kind of a campus outreach thing, but for high school and beyond, kind of a deal. But whenever you want to join as a leader, you have to have specific kids like assigned to you. So you have to pick out like maybe like 3 that you're assigned to that are going to be kind of the ones that you're focused on.
That's weird already.
But then again, if you're not sure which ones, like they already have an idea of like, okay, these ones are the ones that will probably be the best for you. They kind of assign them to you because they're like, okay, they're kind of like this.
And even if you don't have any assigned to you, they give you a general layout of the ones that you're supposed to approach.
Do they
Right.
at least like? Now this might be just me being a boomer.
Sure.
Do they at least separate them by gender? Like because
Yeah. You have to be
okay, good.
assigned that way for
because like
personal hangouts and stuff.
If you was like a 19-year-old and you're
Yeah.
mentoring a 16-year-old,
No, they
that
try
can go poorly
they try for the
anybody.
grooming not to happen.
Okay, good.
Right.
That's what I'm getting
Yeah,
at.
yeah.
I couldn't find the right word. So at least there was that.
Basically, the thing that got us the worst is, if we were dedicating a lot of time to it.
Yeah.
And if you're not dedicating the most time to it, you're less than, and then you're made to feel kind of bad that you're lacking. You're lacking in your devotion, and it just makes you start questioning a bunch of stuff because we would sign on to go to their camps and to work at their camps and to do all this stuff to try to. It's basically free labor.
Yeah.
Because they were collecting getting money for the kids that would go and getting paid for all of these trips, and they all of the workers that they would have working everything were all volunteer based in order to make sure the organization ran well.
Yeah, everyone that is not like in a certain area, everyone that is not the head of that area within this group they're volunteers. So like it's basically the one person gets paid that's over like say maybe like 3 school districts.
You want to know what the funny?
right?
Yeah,
I think that was how it was.
Yeah, it's over the main area. The main regional area
You're
leader
right.
is over I think
3 to 5.
3 to 5 school districts.
But they were the ones that would be like making sure that you're putting 30 hours a week into this thing, and they're the ones getting paid to just kind of do the same
do
thing that you were
nothing.
doing. Like
Right.
you're doing the same thing they're doing, but they're the one getting paid for it, and they just need you to make sure you're doing all the work.
they're delegating all the tasks
That's
and
BS.
collecting all
And
the.
then within the
gosh.
contract, like there was an anti-masturbation thing on there. There was a
Oh, I never signed it.
There was a,
I actually was okay with everything until they made me feel guilty about masturbating.
like they highly encouraged you to date within the group.
They had
Like,
to. They had to.
That's
that is-
grooming.
What is it?
That
What's
is
it
ticking
called?
boxes.
it wasn't grooming because we're all of age. Like it was all like you couldn't be a leader without being 18 plus.
The right term,
But it's the cult thing of
Yeah,
you
they're
need to
trying to
date
get
within
you
the
looped
group.
in. They're-
Wait, what is the?
They're
What
trying
is?
to
I'm
cut
kind
off.
of tired today.
What is
No,
it?
yeah,
What
you're-
is it when you have to get somebody when you're having to go through like a check or something? I'm trying to forget. I'm trying to remember what it is. It's a word.
Cavity check.
No, damn it.
Did we sign up for those? Can we?
Like you're getting like screened of like
Yeah, like that. Basically, like
Yeah,
screening. They have
yeah.
to screen the person that you're even thinking about dating
Vetting?
before you're even allowed. Yeah, they have to vet
Vetting.
them.
Yeah,
they have to
yeah.
vet the person you're about to date. Otherwise, they're going to tell you like they're going to be against your spiritual better. Like they're
yeah,
not,
that's
they're,
a,
they're not.
that's a cult right
They're-
there, but
they are
Yeah,
not
that's
for your
cult.
spiritual well being. You want to know what something really funny is about it though? You know who the entertainer? They have a big gathering every year in Florida, and they have an entertainer that is a big contributor to the organization. Who is always
Jeff Foxworthy.
Shaggy Two Dope.
Jeff Foxworthy every year.
really,
It's weird.
Yep.
But it's that strange thing to where
It kind of hurt me.
they're like, yeah.
Like,
it's like-
I'm just looking at
Now,
Tony.
I hope he doesn't know. You know.
yeah, I hope it's just a
like-
paid gig, right?
I hope it's a
Because,
paid
like,
gig.
I know the organization you're talking about. I never had anything to do with it because I was a poor.
Yeah.
But until I heard all this stuff, I thought it was just like a good thing. Like
Yeah.
Christian kids hanging with Christian
That-
kids going to
that's
summer
how they
camp.
get you.
Yeah, but that's the way it is for the kids because you don't know that there's strategy behind
Right.
all of this stuff.
Absolutely.
Like the person that was closest, the leader that was closest to me, it wasn't because he just wanted to be my good buddy, which some of that was there because even after me leaving the organization, we still had a little time of being buddies.
Right.
But eventually grew apart because we didn't have that part in common. But there was a strategy behind it, behind me being the one that they were like, okay, this is a good candidate because Austin was more the way Austin's always been, which is he's going to be Austin. Like you're not going to get him to not be him.
Right.
And that was which I was a little more malleable. I was a little more like, okay, I could jive with this, right? So I can fit into a few more of these little boxes you guys need me to, just because I feel like I'm doing a good job. But Austin would be like, I'm not doing. You guys don't. You're making me sign this to where I can't touch me. Like I'm not doing that. Which everybody just signs it and does it anyway. But
It's the principle of the thing,
like
though.
once you find out that you're being tricked, because that was something for me. The deeper I got into it, the more I got into like being a leader and figuring out how all this stuff works. That's when I got out of it a year after I became a leader in it because I was like, this isn't cool, man. Like the way you guys are strategically picking out certain people and making sure even there were some people they'd be like, no, we don't really want this person to be in it. So you don't want to bring them in because we feel like they might kind of throw things out of whack a little bit.
Well, I mean, here's my thought. Okay. So I'm a fairly religious man.
Right.
And my thought is if your religion is telling you to sign a contract, you should probably go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because you found a bad sect, a bad section.
Now-
go to one that don't do that.
Now, here's
and
the-
if they're saying that these people were, because the whole idea of like Christianity is to help facilitate you to go to heaven. Okay. In essence. So if they're saying, well, this person's bad, we don't want to bring them into the group because they're bad for the group. You need to go to a different place because that's a bad one. Because why would you not want the lost in there?
Right.
I mean, you just gotta think with your logic side.
Because
What are they saying?
Because they were working under the guise of Christianity. You're saying that's
Right.
what they need to be following.
Yes.
But since they weren't really doing that, they weren't really following it right.
Yeah, that's
right.
what I'm
That's where the
saying.
sect comes into play, to where it's
Yes.
like you're not really doing the main base of what they're supposed to be.
So here's a good point as to just how awful it is. I, being me, was of course kind of blackballed from the whole situation because I was not adhering enough to the program. It was me and a friend of mine who also was in it, but took kind of the same route that I did. His name was Alex, and there was Dane, and then another guy that was our age named Brad. And Dane and Brad were the golden boys. They were the ones that were following what they were supposed to follow and doing what they were supposed to do. And then they had the do nots, which were Alex and me, and we were made as a point to people.
So y'all were the fappers, Dane and Brad were the non-fappers?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just literally like we were bound for hell. Don't be like them.
Because you weren't conforming, but they kept you around to keep making an example out of you to get everyone else to stay in line.
Yeah, and I can remember, even hanging out, like even past the point of, I think I was like just turned 18 or something, and I was talking about smoking pot or something like that.
Yeah.
And the guy said,
The devil's lettuce.
I can remember too, like, and I had to get real serious too, and I'm not a real serious guy. You guys don't ever see me real serious. But he said to me, if I ever caught you smoking pot, I'd call the cops on you. I say, you ever call the cops on me for smoking pot? I'll kick your ass.
Yeah.
Like I had to get real damn serious about it because, like, come on.
And the more I noticed that blackballing he was talking about, the more I noticed even the strategy behind that, because I was seeing that they were even trying to get me to stop hanging out with them. And that was where I was like, excuse me? Like, screw you guys. Like, absolutely not. Like, you can't tell me who I can and cannot hang out with. But they were trying to do it in this slow roll way. That's why like a year after I joined it, I got out. But we were a part of it for 4 years before, because when we were freshmen in high school is when we started doing it.
Oh, yeah, and absolutely. I was an easy target, man. Yeah. In high school, I was an easy target because I was, kind of a little bit looked down upon, just because I am who I am, and I was not really as reined in as I am now with myself. I was just kind of.
You were a showman.
I was a little bit of a showman, and they said, well, this guy seems like he would be good to bring into this fold and to entertain these people.
Yeah, you know how to play guitar.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, you could do the music.
I'm a little disappointed because I was never even approached. Like, I knew this organization's existence. Was I like that hot chick at the bar where,
You're too hot.
Where you're sitting there and you're like, I want to talk to her, but she's way out of my league.
No, I think that's what it was.
No, she's like, homie, she's in your league. Go talk to her.
I think.
But was that what the situation I was in?
No, I think so, Tony. I think so. I think they looked at you one time and went,
I mean,
and had to get out.
That's flattering, but I mean, I want to be invited to a cult. I won't go.
You were already.
You were feel involved.
You were invited to a cult. You just wouldn't swipe your card.
No, I mean, yeah, but at least that one invited me.
And how did it make you feel?
It made me feel good
for a minute.
Because I was like, this guy said I had a nice beard.
Oh, he sees me. But that's what they do. But yeah, we're out of it. We can look back on it, and honestly, I still have conversations with the people that we used to be involved with. Yeah. It's not like I hate them. They didn't hurt me. It's just I just don't agree with the way they approach stuff.
It wasn't a good look, and it's driven. It helped part of my driving to the point I am now with myself. It helped drive towards that way because I was seeing things used in manners that I thought were very manipulative, and I'm not a fan of that. I don't like whenever people pick out kids that they think are going to be easy to fool, and then lead them into this realm to where they're helping decide who they date, who they're friends with, and who they target to bring up in the pyramid scheme of the whole concept.
They literally tell you to find the kid that looks downtrodden and outcast and give them a place to belong.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sit down with them at lunch.
That was me.
And do that. But you probably had too many friends.
Nobody's going to approach the man with a duct tape fan on his back.
That was only senior year. I didn't have a guitar strap.
It was a prescription.
I did get a doctor's note. That's how I got away with taking it to all my classes.
A prescription fan.
We were easy targets because we were just we were the nerds. Like we were the nerds, the ones, and not like the good at school nerds, but like the superhero loving, Pokemon loving.
I used to try to look so cool.
You go play Beyblade in the parking lot.
Dude, if Beyblade were around then,
what was it, like 10-minute morning break or whatever?
Yeah.
We're going to play Beyblades in the cafeteria and get a cookie?
We hacky sacked instead.
Yeah, well, actually, no, we would meet at 6 o'clock in the morning at the high school and play disc golf.
We did.
So we would make our own course to where you had to hit a pole or hit a tree and above this line. And
this is where the whole like cult is a weird word because, like, in the definitions, even looking through it, like, I not many things about the actual definition of the word cult mean like harming someone or even things about false prophets, right? Because like to anything that's a prophet or a
that's
religion,
when you bring in spurious, because it's a spurious sect.
that part, but it also said in the definition is also said or spurious, like, so it's not an and spurious, or like spurious is
unorthodox or spurious.
Spurious is a let's see, because even unorthodox doesn't mean harm, right?
No, I mean unorthodox is strange or different.
Strange or different, right? But that's where if someone thinks I couldn't possibly be in a cult because we don't hurt anyone, like we're not out to hurt somebody, it's like, well, look at the checklist time.
Yeah, I mean,
right? It's like
exactly.
Well, yeah,
it's like, we jokingly refer to our Discord as the backyard bonanza as a cult. But we don't fit any of those checklist boxes.
Well, and a lot of cults too is they are extremely cults that will thrive are extremely good at making sure the shit that happens above does not pass down below.
Right.
So like even if like the guy one level above you, it goes from like, hey, let's make sure that these kids have a place to go, to like, hey, let's make sure these kids like do X, Y, and Z that's kind of malicious. Mm-hmm. Like they are extremely good at making sure that never goes down until they know you're ready to move up to that next level. Because like the Yellow Deli, it's like it's more of a famous cult, and forever everyone kind of knew they were a little bit weird, but they're like, they have amazing sandwiches, they do all this stuff for the community.
I was about to say, I must be really fat because I thought of sandwiches as soon as you said
that's
that.
the first thing I did too.
Well, like they had these sandwich shops, I think in like New Jersey, one other place that was it's called the Yellow Deli, and it's been a while since I read up on them, but like it turned into a big ass cult that was like doing horrible cult stuff, and everyone's like, we didn't know because we just thought it was a deli that helped the community.
Oh yeah. And they were just using that as the front,
right?
To and be able to run the whole thing.
Well, not even just as a front, just as like, hey, let's get some new members in. Hey, this homeless guy, like he doesn't have anywhere to go. Well, he doesn't have any family. Well, maybe he wants to join. Maybe he could be a contributor. And that's how they get you. They always target the people that have no one else, because when you don't have a support structure, you're easier to sway.
Yeah, I mean, you have nobody to tell you that you're doing a dumb.
Right.
Yeah.
And even think back to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, the first one, where the kids that they've got as a part of the Foot Clan, like they're the street kids that are up to no good and don't have anywhere to go or people to trust.
Except for the main kid. He had a family.
Well,
he had a dad.
His father was April O'Neil's boss, and then Danny ends up getting indoctrinated into the Foot Clan and starts stealing stuff for him. And then Master I can't remember his name.
You got it?
Yeah, you can do this. It's none of us would correct you, so you can say whatever you want.
Ticonderoga.
No,
that's a good one though. Ponderosa.
I could just remember him. He was
Master Toyota.
Toyotathon.
I'm never going to remember his name.
Happy Honda Day.
But
it's Truck Month, everybody.
he would.
He's wearing a toque.
Basically, he would say, he would like, we're a family. This is a family.
Yeah.
This is your brother. This is your sister. This is your brother. Like, he would let them know that this is a family. And then Casey Jones broke the news to him that he's like, they've got this giant rat chained up in the back, and everybody's fighting each other trying to get the most packs of cigarettes and stuff. He's like, you consider this a family? This guy over here that I just knocked out with this golf club? This is your family?
This guy just gave a concussion to?
Although, if you are a part of a group and the leader of that group is like, hey, these human-sized turtles that know ninja powers, they're not good.
They know ninja powers?
They know ninja powers. And you're like, I kind of see where he's coming from, right? I would probably be scared too.
Right. If I saw a human-sized turtle
with ninja powers,
yeah, I would also be like, that doesn't need to exist. I don't remember taking drugs today.
A human-sized humanoid turtle
that can speak to you
and say things like radical and bossa nova.
And has a face in its mouth.
Right. If someone looked at me and said, that's the devil's demons, I would go, you're probably right.
Yeah, but it's saying things like radical and cowabunga, and then I'm just going to giggle at that point. I mean, it's kind of one of those things, like the idea of saying we're family and all that.
Yeah.
We, as humans, we strive for love and affection and acceptance. So if you're going to give me that,
it's why people go to Olive Garden.
I'm more apt to, yeah, exactly. When you hear your family, don't touch your family. That's gross.
Right.
You know,
you can touch the breadsticks, just don't touch your brother's breadsticks.
I mean, that breadstick is your brother. Because when you're there, your family.
Yeah. Oh no.
But it's just the cults are they're always going to be around. And the thing that you kind of got to look at too is the more they go unchecked, the more they have a chance to become mainstream religion.
Was Dominic Toretto a cult leader? Because it was all about family around movie
Dominic.
like 6.
Dom.
Yeah, Dom. Was he a cult leader?
He might be a cult leader. Because now they're not even just, racing cars. Now they're like...
That's where he gets them. He gets them because they love racing cars, and that's how he pulls them in, and then he turns them into the expendable.
And now they're involved in government plots.
Exactly.
Oh!
See, that's a good point, Tiny.
I know. It just hit me.
I didn't even think about that.
You know, I heard Olive Garden when you hear your family.
You know what just hit me?
Then I thought of a Dodge Challenger. And then I thought of Dom. And then I thought, I'm going to drop my keys. And then I thought, Vin Diesel has got a really cool voice. Diesel, that's a truck. My van's gas. Holy shit, I think he's the leader of a cult.
I think your logic is so sound that I can't combat it.
That was my whole thought process of how I got there.
Did you know Vin Diesel voiced the Iron Giant in the Iron Giant movie?
No.
Yeah.
No.
That's such a good role for him.
Yeah.
And then he played Groot.
He got paid.
Wait. Oh, Groot.
Yeah.
I thought you said Gru, and I'm like,
no,
that's
that would be
Steve
funny
Carell.
too. That would be really funny.
That's Steve Carell.
Something that just hit me, like Tiny realizing that Dom is a leader of a Fast and Furious cult, is how bad I have to piss. It's so bad, and it hurts. Can we go away?
It's about that time.
Can we go away?
I usually just hold it until it reabsorbs into my body.
I've tried that, and it's starting to seep through my pores.
Oh, you've probably done it twice already, because the third time, you got to get it out.
That's the thing. I think strike 3 is coming. So in that, whenever a person that sees you downtrodden and in the corner and, there's a nerd right there, and they walk over to you and they put their hand out and they have grapes for you, what are you going to do?
Slap their hands like,
no, not today, mister. Not today.
Keep sweet. Obey. Pray. Be sweet.
See, I'm already uncomfortable.